You're listening to Parents You've Got This, the expert guide to parenthood, the complete guide to fertility, pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. This podcast is proudly supported by Mistela, a natural origin skincare for babies and children, recommended by healthcare professionals. Mistela by Parents' Side since 1950.
Thanks for tuning in to the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast with your host, Christy and Freya from Parents You've Got This. Having a baby has got to be one of the most physically demanding and hormone-changing experience in a woman's life. And it plays havoc on our skin. So today we have our dermatologist and skin injectable expert, Dr. Alice Rudd, on to talk to us all about postpartum skin. Now, Alice works across both public and private practice. She has an incredible clinic in Melbourne, Skin Depth Dermatology. Make sure you go and check it out for any of your skincare needs. And yeah, she specialises in all things general dermatology as well as cosmetic dermatology. So we are really excited to pick her brain on how we can all feel fabulous in this really sort of turbulent postpartum period. So Alice, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, in a previous episode, we have talked about the elusive pregnancy glow, and sometimes it doesn't happen for women in the pregnancy period, and hopefully it might in the postpartum period. Can you talk about some common things that women might experience after they've had their baby with their skin?
One of the most common things is dry skin. In that postpartum period, your estrogen significantly drops whilst you're breastfeeding, especially, depending on whether you're breastfeeding or not. But we know that the skin gets very dry. It becomes almost menopausal. And that's the whole skin, including the vaginal skin, the facial skin, all of the skin. A lot of women feel dry everywhere. So it's really important to replenish with moisture. And if you're really dry, particularly, even the vaginal area, some topical estrogen may be helpful. But dryness is really important to tackle with increasing moisturizer in that postpartum period.
How long are we in that postpartum period for our skin?
A lot of it depends on breastfeeding. So that postpartum phase is very variable. If you're not breastfeeding, I think a lot of the skin changes resurrect themselves as soon as you stop breastfeeding. But if you're breastfeeding for a really long time, you have those postpartum changes for a really long time. So it's highly variable. And some people get them and some people don't. But it all depends on the level of the hormones, exactly as you said.
So when we talk about, we're talking about skin dryness, is that something that we can treat by, drinking lots of water and things like that? Or is it just topical things that we need to be applying to our skin?
No, it's topical things. There's no amount of water that you can drink that can get to your skin and rehydrate it. It's all about repairing the barrier of your skin and putting moisture into the skin, but also putting moisture into the skin so that it stops some further dehydration and water being sort of absorbed out of the skin. So ceramides, B5, anything that's a really good emollient that goes on the skin will help rehydrate and prevent further dehydration.
Many women suffer from acne, dryness, dullness in their skin after giving birth. What can we do about that?
So skincare can help a lot. And I love things like azelaic acid, which is kind of an active ingredient that can help treat pigmentation, redness, breakouts, and give the skin a bit of luminosity. Things like niacinamide, vitamin B3, really helpful because they help with redness and skin barrier, which means you can then sort of tolerate things better on your skin. And then go and have a treatment and look after your skin and yourself and your psychological state. Go and have something really relaxing.
Oh, it's so true, isn't it? I still remember, you're going to laugh at me. I remember going to have a treatment after giving birth and I was laying there and I was just crying, very hormonal. But I think it was the first time that I just sat still.
Yeah.
And I was sort of really processing everything that had just happened in that moment. And I guess taking time just for yourself, doing that. I think it's really important. And I think, my friend walked my baby around the block in a pram.
You probably thought you could hear it cry.
I don't know, but it was just such an important thing to do for ourselves. We put ourselves at the bottom of the ladder, but yet you're trying to feed and, you've just housed this baby, just given birth. It's a huge thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Alice, I love that there's things that we can do. What are some of the things that we shouldn't be putting on our skin in that postpartum period? It's pretty much the same rules apply for pregnancy. So we don't know, there's no safety data on what crosses into the breast milk. Of course, if you're not breastfeeding, you can use whatever you want as long as your skin can tolerate it. So if you're not breastfeeding in your postpartum and you're not pregnant, you can use your retinol, you can use your prescription retinol, you can use a high-strength salicylic acid, you can use whatever you like. If you're breastfeeding, then the same rules apply. Most of the things that we worry about crossing the placenta are even less likely to cross into breast milk. but we still apply the same rules because we don't 100% know the safety data. So we just recommend that you wait until you stop breastfeeding. But most things we expect probably don't cross into the breast milk.
And what about hair loss? I know, like, even now I look like I've just had a baby, but this like crazy little spiky hair business that like regrowing, and you look at your brush and it's like full of hair. Why does that happen after you give birth?
So that's the postpartum telogen effluvium, which is the dread of every pregnant woman. So that's really when you notice you get the skin glow. You really also notice your hair's quite good in pregnancy. Like I've got terribly thin hair and my hair was fantastic in pregnancy. I was like, only I didn't have to be pregnant to have this state all the time. My skin and my hair were really good. So we know that you lose pretty much no hair in pregnancy because you have these high sort of levels of progesterone. But then, of course, you're making up for all the hair loss of 9 months in one go at the other end. So you're meant to lose up to 100 hairs a day normally, pregnant or not. Well, not pregnant. So you're basically accumulating 9 months of hair that you didn't shed in that postpartum period, which usually starts within those first few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Mine started exactly 6 weeks on the dot. And then it can go for, 3 to 6 months. But it basically is just taking you back to where you would have been pre-pregnancy if you hadn't had all that time where you weren't shedding. But it does completely go away.
Oh, good. I know. I was so scared I was going bald.
Yeah.
As I went home, I was about to pulling it out of the drain. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? So what about cosmetic treatments? So we've talked about how it's lovely to be able to go and have a facial, and that generally the things, that are safe in pregnancy are safe postpartum. What about things like, heavier treatments like LEDs and peels and, Botox and fillers when you're in that postpartum stage? If you're breastfeeding.
If you're breastfeeding, then, it's pretty much the same rules apply. We don't have any data to know if they're safe. But, in certain circumstances, medical reasons, there would be indications for people who are breastfeeding to have things like Botox. But again, it's just a safety thing that we're not sure about. So we would recommend not doing the injectables until you stop breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Obviously, lasers, there's no effect. There's no fetus in your body. And unless you're lasering your child's face and your face, it would be considered to be quite safe to do lasers, deeper peels, LED lights, hair removal, laser hair removal. All of those things would be considered to be safe in the postpartum period.
And so what about products? If you're wanting to look at your skincare routine, what do you suggest for postpartum mamas to help them look less tired? I don't know, I felt like I had these big black eyes for like months.
It's so cool, isn't it? Because like it's when you can't get the sleep. The sleep's where your body needs most.
What about the cells and make you look good? Yeah.
Yeah, so we know that all of our regeneration is done at night on a good night's sleep. Yeah, when you don't have a great sleep, there's no regeneration happening. Yeah, that's right. That's just what you want in that period. It's really the same rules again. So we do recommend, I love in that postpartum period to start to introduce some slightly more active skincare if the barrier is repaired. So using some sort of acids like glycolic, lactic, and the lower strength salicylic. We still recommend to probably not use retinols. There's some people that think bakuchiol, which is like a plant-based retinol, is safe. I'm usually happy for some of my patients to use that in small amounts, as long as it's not big amounts. And that can sort of help you give you a bit of a glow back. And vitamin C, of course, people love, and that gives you an instant like collagen boost and glow. So it's vitamin C, if your skin can tolerate it, would be fine.
Great. And so what would your tips be then, Alice, for women who are trying to get back out there? Maybe they're just going back for that first day at the workforce, or maybe they've got that lunch that they're really looking forward to and they want to look and feel good. What would your tips be for them to be mindful of, in the 24 hours prior to that? Is there something, should they do like an extra cleanse, or, what are some of the things that they can do to really help give their skin a boost and feel?
So I think that the thing that works the quickest is something like peptides. Peptides are really quite safe in that postpartum breastfeeding period, and they just give you an almost like an immediate collagen boost. So like last night I put some on for before Sinead.
You're looking gorgeous on this. And lately, yeah.
So I find that because often them are based in a hyaluronic sort of base, and the peptides just give you an instant perk up, and they really seem to plump you. Obviously, it's not a permanent effect, and it's not a long-term effect like a retinol would be, but that's just a beautiful thing you can do, and you wake up feeling really good.
Yeah, I think that makes all the difference. Yeah, it's just those little things like that. I think that's a great tip. Maybe I'll do that tonight and I'll feel fabulous tomorrow. What are your advice, Alice, for people that feel really self-conscious and, they've stopped breastfeeding and they're looking at, some bigger treatments, but they're worried about what people think about their skincare routine? What's your advice for women?
I think I see many women like that, especially ones who are going back out into the workforce and want to start to feel like they're looking like some of the other mothers who aren't just immediately postpartum. Obviously, things like injectables give you the biggest bang for buck. They work very quickly and they give you like a dramatic, they give you a very good result. Obviously, low doses is key so that you don't just look like you're exhausted mama one day and then a frozen mama the next. So it's really just important to do low doses. And also we don't 100% know. Our metabolism is quite different in that period as well. So you don't always know exactly how quickly these are going to wear off or kick in. So I think obviously those things are kind of big bang for buck. Things like lasergenesis are really kind of calming but give you a collagen boost and make you feel like you're a bit glowy. And often we would recommend sort of layering that with a peel and an LED. So if you want those sort of more dramatic results and make you feel a little bit more on top of things, then those would be the things I will usually recommend to my patients.
And with those, when we're talking about LEDs, I'm sure we're not alone in our Insta feed being like flooded by women, cleaning the house in like infrared kind of like LED masks. When you talk about that, are you talking about those sorts of things you can do in the home, or are you talking about going into a salon and actually, having a skincare expert give you
You're talking about the ones where they're doing it in the middle of the night and it stops the burglars coming in because they look so frightening.
Well,
Yes. Yeah, those ones. So that's the at-home LED masks work quite well if you're consistent. So I have one at home, which I've had for 12 months and I've used it twice. So that's not doing me any good. So my biggest issue is the compliance. So those are very low-level LED and they're fantastic if you get to the end of the day and you've got time to do that self-care ritual, which is what I probably should make more time for, but don't. And they're okay if you're doing them every night. So you have to be really consistent. They're much lower energy output or lower power than an in-clinic, obviously, because the in-clinic is a TGA registered device that can only be used in like a medical clinic or a spa. And so they have a much higher energy. So they're going to give you more delivery of the power, which means obviously you're going to get a heightened result and you could do those less frequently.
Got it. And how much time is the downtime for something like that?
There's no downtime for LED. Some people get a slightly pinkish tone to their skin for the day, but there's no downtime with an LED.
So it's when you see people that sort of look like a bit of a horror film sometimes in the nicest way.
Yeah.
Is it because they've had a peel? Is that sort of when suddenly they look like all red and blotchy? And
they're probably more likely had a laser. Normally when it's sort of blotchy and really red, something has broken the skin. So peels just sort of gently exfoliate the top layers of the skin. But if you're piercing the skin and penetrating the skin, that's usually going to give you more downtime. So they probably had a laser.
Yeah. So it's good to know when you're pregnant, the good part about when you've had your baby is that you're at home a lot. So if you need to have one of those and you're still breastfeeding, well, it's a good time.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Alice, thank you so much for coming on the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. A huge thanks to Mistela for sponsoring this episode. Babies can feel unsettled during seasonal changes or when they are feeling under the weather, causing restless nights. Mistela Soothing Chest Rub, suitable from birth, is enriched with naturally derived extracts of pine, rosemary and chamomile to help relax and soothe your baby. Perfect for gentle massages, it leaves a calming, refreshing scent to help your little one's well-being at bedtime for a more peaceful night's sleep. Mistela is our family's favourite.
You've been listening to the Parents You've Got This Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. We are Freya and Christy, and we are so thrilled to be able to provide you with all the evidence-based expert information you need for every stage of your journey. Whatever it is you're looking for, check out our library of 100 plus episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. And never forget, parents, you've got this.
Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass today to be prepared, excited and educated for pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. Visit www.parentsyou'vegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and is intended to support, not replace, a discussion with your doctor or healthcare professional. Parents You've Got This take no responsibility for any medical decisions made by individuals based on the information provided in this podcast.